Hello, welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. It's Friday. This is an update. It's been a couple weeks since I've done one, if anybody noticed, because I was busy working on the Powerglide project. A few cool things happened over the last couple weeks, so we might as well talk about them. The first thing that happened is I was doing more cleaning outside where I cleared the land, moving a whole bunch of frames and projects around. And I had a 1987 square body crew cab dually chassis. It was a rolling chassis, two-wheel drive, that I had bought when I bought the 47 Ford cab, or traded into the 47 Ford cab that I've showed you before. As soon as I got that cab, it's chopped, it's really cool, no rust, from the Colorado Highway Department originally. Legend has it. I already had a Model A frame that might fit on. I bought a couple S10 frames. I bought a Nova clip that I'll probably end up using to build a frame for. And I also bought that crew cab dually chassis thinking I would build a cool hauler, maybe stretch the frame a little more and make a hauler body on it. As I was moving stuff around, I said, well, I'm going to post that for sale. And I posted it for sale on a Friday morning, I believe. Instantly got a call from a guy in New Hampshire, the next state over. Completely upfront. He had zero money, but he really wanted that frame. He's been looking for one for 3 or 4 years. You could tell right away he was a good dude. You know what I mean? Just by the tone of his voice, he was totally upfront. I was only asking $500 for the frame, so we got to talking about trading stuff, and turns out he had a couple, but I took one, a 2000 4L80E transmission out of a van with a slip yoke. Probably the most desirable two-wheel drive 4L80. It's a good vintage 2000, has the separated cool lines, the extra bolt hole, even though it was in a van, which still had the traditional Chevy small block in it. It was a good trade. He valued the transmission at about $300. To make up the difference, he said he had some steel in his shed. Using the FaceTime audio, I was in the shed with him. He showed me a whole bunch of steel. I said, look, you bring me what you think is a fair amount of steel to offset the difference between the transmission and what I'm asking for the frame. And whatever you bring, I'll be happy with. He showed up the next day with his trailer. I had the dually chassis already on the forks of my tractor. We unloaded the transmission and a whole pallet of steel. 5, 6, 8 foot lengths of steel, box tube and some angle iron. I certainly got my money's worth. He was happy, I was happy. The barter system is alive and well. I love that. My happiness lasted almost 24 hours. The next morning, a guy that I didn't know wanted to drop off a Turbo 400. He pulls in what I believe was a Mack B model cab on a 1-ton Chevy chassis with a small hauler body on the back. It was perfection. Everything I envisioned my 47 Ford could be, and there it sat in front of me, and I just got rid of the chassis to make that very truck, but I could always get another one. I'd probably go with a later model van chassis. Who knows? It was just cool. And as usual, every time I part with something, I wished I hadn't, but what are you going to do? I'm always on the lookout for Holley carburetors in pairs, or at least the correct part numbers to make pairs. I have that 505 big block Chevy short block, a set of brand new Liberty Performance heads, this brand new tunnel ram. I didn't have any carburetors. I used the 750 that I wanted to find a mate for on the 71 Nova, which I could take back off. So if I find another 4779-9 four-corner idle 750 Holley, hint, hint, if you're listening, I'd buy one. I would love to have a pair to that one, but I did find, local to me, these 650s and they'll be just fine. I have a 421 small block I'm building. It'll be tunnel rammed as well. Or they'd probably be okay on the 505. It's going to be basically street driven, so. And included in this carburetor purchase was another 750 early style, that old linkage. Still a good looking carburetor, a whole bunch of bowls, jet kits, extra metering blocks, rebuild kits. I bought everything the guy had for super reasonable money. That was a good day. I even bought one of these. It's a wheel rim screw marking device. I used to have a piece of cardboard that, with some help, I'd done the math using, pi and all that stuff to figure it out, but this is a lot easier. If nothing else, it makes a decorative wall hanging. The wonders of modern internet never fail to amaze me. I got an email a couple weeks ago from a guy named Tim in Washington State. I'm in Maine. Geographically, you can't get much further apart. He said he had two 8-volt case Turbo 400s. He was willing to cut the bell housings off so they'd fit in a reasonable size box and ship them to me. If I wanted to pay the freight, I could have the cases for $50 a piece. The shipping from Washington was $80 a piece, so for $130 a piece, they showed up this week. One today and one on Tuesday. This guy packed them like they were going to the moon. I mean, awesome. In fact, this one had a governor filter still sitting in the hole. It made the whole trip. But this is a fantastic Chevrolet case, 1985. It has 7 holes drilled in the boss for the 8th pump bolt hole. It's a nice, super clean case. I haven't done anything to it. The bell housing's roughed out. I just got to finish that. That's awesome. The second case, the 1967 HD Pontiac. This thing is fantastic. It's got the extra ribs, all the extra meat where you want it. I dig it. I'd buy these all day long. So thank you, Tim, from Washington State. 67 PB. When they don't list a model, I always assume it's a full size. 402 barrel was the engine option. Proudly made in the USA. Nice. I have everything to make this another transmission with all the good stuff and 3 shafts and be super strong in the future. I stripped a TH400 yesterday, and the pressure plate in the direct drum was shattered. The clutch plates clearly didn't make it very well, but I thought this was interesting. The steel piston is now 2-piece. That piece came right off. It's like you machined it off like that. It must have broken, I assume, just from overstroking. When I bought the transmission, the guy said, yeah, when it got warm, it lost some gears. It was in a mud truck. This is the front section of the pump off a transmission I stripped this morning. It's a metal vent, so it's pre-75. I'm guessing probably late 60s. The tag's missing, but if you told me you machined this morning, I would believe you. Unbelievable what oil and crud will preserve. Now for another quick story about the orange 3rd Gen Camaro. I bought the Camaro late summer of 2007, and by the fall of 2008, I was ready to make a couple test passes before they closed the tracks around here. I completely repainted the car. I had to take it all apart, panel by panel. It needed a lot of repair work. I converted it to a 5-speed Lenco. It always had a 4-speed. It was originally a Pro Stock car. Converted to an early Pro Mod at the dawn of Pro Mod in the early 90s. This was one of them. I had built the 572 for a different project. The Lenco was new to me. The clutch I bought, a Mountain Motor Hayes Pro Stock clutch, had it rebuilt and certified. Same with the bell housing. There's a lot of pieces that go into it, and for me that was a pretty fast project. I wasn't stopping to film or anything, so I can really hustle. The shop was brand new to me. I just finished it, had plenty of room in here, and I got the project done pretty quickly. You know how it goes. All your friends say, hey, when you're ready to run it, give me a call. I did exactly that. I called every friend I could think of, and most of them showed up to watch me take a couple test passes at my local 8th Mile track, now called New Oxford Dragway, just Oxford Dragway at the time. Beautiful September afternoon. I hadn't done a long smoky burnout for almost a decade, and that was in my red Chevelle. Never driven a Lenco, but in my head I had made 1,000 passes. It's all I ever wanted to do is dump the clutch and pull levers. If you've ever done a long smoky burnout at high speed, it's not as easy as it looks. I'm not talking about the pathetic attempts you see teenagers and some adults do by holding the rear brakes on or holding the brakes on. You can use a line lock to get it in high gear. Now in a Lenco, you put all the levers back except the one furthest away from you, which is normally first to second. You put all the other sections in high, if you will. I'll explain the Lenco transmission another day. You dump the clutch, pull it in high, you let go of the line lock, and you just drive out across the line. You got to keep the RPM just right so you're not going to, the tires aren't going to hook, and you got to pull the motor down and stop your burnout. You don't want to over rev it. And with wheel speed comes directional stability. Definitely you got to get a feel for it. But things are going pretty well. The burnout started to go a little bit sideways as I was passing the Christmas tree. So I figured I'd end it and push the clutch in. Now the clutch pedal in that, they were chrome plated. They had Volkswagen pedal pads on them. I'll never forget it. I still had the pad around here. And they hinge from the floor. There's a pivot in the floor and they go this way away from you. So I stepped down on the clutch. The pedal pad came off, the chrome pedal. Now that Mountain Motor Pro Stock clutch I had hurts when that thing came up into the back of my leg. My leg's now caught under here and that thing hammers me in the back of the shin. And I'm still under power. Fortunately, I stalled the engine with the foot brake as I was completely sideways enough to put the nose of my car and push the tree slightly over. So we're off to a really good start. Here I am sitting, the engine stalled. The Christmas tree is now attached to the front of my car. What do you do in that situation? Well, I watched the United States Super Circuit, the only race I ever went to, in Englishtown, New Jersey. That was a group of pioneering Pro Mod races. It wasn't even called Pro Mod at the time. I watched Animal Jim get completely out of shape and damn near wreck his car and ended up this far from the cement barrier with the engine stalled. And what did he do? He reached up and hit the starter. And that's exactly what I did. Backed it up. My buddy Ken, who was my front man, kind of broke the big pieces off because I broke the front end of my car a little bit. They stood the tree back up, and I made my first pass. It was an aborted pass. It bogged the engine. Still went a 580. And that's how my initiation into driving my new car went. Was I embarrassed? No. Stuff happens. People think I just lost control and hit the tree. I still have, in fact, I should take my pants off and show you, but that's a whole different video. I still have a bruise in the back of my shin. I probably walk with a limp. Man, did that hurt. But while I had the winter to fix the nose now, because I didn't take it back out again, I still had to solve the bogging problem, which I did with nitrous. And I redid my headers. I had headers underneath, and I had the whole front end apart anyway. I made a new set of stainless headers with merge collectors that came out through the fender while I was painting the nose. You might as well do some modifications. And I went on to make probably 160 passes in the car. The only other time I hit something was at Oxford Dragway, but that'll be another story. And I almost missed the wall. Almost. But hey, that's it for today. Like, share, subscribe. I did not meet my goal. About 2 months ago, I was talking to my wife. I said, I hope by Thanksgiving I can have 3,000 subscribers. I missed it by 5 subscribers. My videos get a good amount of views. I get all that, information every time I open up YouTube Studio. I wish everybody would just hit the subscribe button. Maybe make a comment and like. It all works into their algorithm. It determines how much I get paid. That's just the way it goes. I don't make a lot of money, but I'm having fun. So, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.